Hi, this is Greg Koopman, SSIS 2016 Session 2, Part 1. In this video, I'll discuss screen navigation, popular objects, and the data flow layer. Okay, now I'm going to open up a package. We're just going to open it regularly. It's an extraction of the Micros item master. And what's nice here, as I go through this, there'll be little things I pick up. I'll let you know. Just basically, anytime you go on the screen for any of this stuff, in the bottom right corner, there's this little guy that's fit to screen, which is kind of nice. So wherever you are, if we opened up a bunch of packages at once, well, let's not open that many, but let's open a few. I can open a few at once, and once we get into them, you see each one of these, and they'll line up across the tabs at the top here. And what you'll see is that, okay, so now we're going to look at them, and we want to kind of get a bird's eye view of everything as we jump from one to the other. And here we can only see, it's magnified to some extent. So all I have to do is click here, down at the bottom, go to the next one, down the bottom, click. So that's kind of nice, a quick little way to, although, then you can kind of go from there and you can run them, and when you see something happen, you can then highlight, zoom in. Okay, so let me get rid of the rest of them. I'm just going to keep one package open. So you can right click on the tab and you can say close all documents, or call it close all but this. So I'll say close all but this, and we got our package open here. Let's just look at this front page here of the whole package. Now, when you look at the whole package here, there are certain elements which generally you'll see in most packages, and that's the data flow. So if data flow is such an important element, right? Because that's what ETL does, is go from one source to a destination. So the data flow object is a very important object. And again, not only is it important, you'll see it over in your toolbox. Now let's say we want to look at our toolbox. So where would we go? Would we go to View, Toolbox, right? Wrong. We don't go to View, Toolbox to see our toolbox. In SSIS, if you want to see the toolbox, you go to SSIS, and you go to the SSIS Toolbox. Okay, that will save you an hour's worth of looking around and wondering whether you installed it correctly. So you need to go to SSIS, the SSIS Toolbox, not the normal toolbox. Okay, so there's your toolbox, and again, let's just look through that toolbox. We have our favorites. Again, as I mentioned, data flow is a big one, right? Execute SQL tasks is a big one, because that way we can get out to all our database. That's the one that gets us out to our databases, tables, store procedures, any code we want to run that's transaction SQL. Okay, we can do that through execute SQL. And then data flow is where we connect to outside external sources. Could be Excel, could be a text file, could be a SQL database, could be an Oracle database, etc., etc. It could be on a website, it could be all sorts of stuff. And then also we define destinations, and the destination could be the same. It could be an Excel file, it could be a text file, it could be SQL Server, it could be anything. Okay, but we define those inside the data flow. These other objects are all different ones that can be used, not as much usually as the others, but they definitely have their places, and I do have them within here. And when needed, you can go out and use this. You want to go ahead. Most of this stuff can be scripted inside of a C# or a script task. There's a script task here, which could almost be in the favorites also. And there it is right there. A script task allows you to pass in variables from the package and write to variables. Unless you use a normal C# editor like you would in many other products. So, and VB.NET if you choose to go that route. So that's what the script task does. So basically, even the data flows and all this stuff, you can probably do all this by writing code in the script task, but you don't want to. You want to try to use the objects that are already abstracted out for you, and you just configure them to do the work instead of writing all the code for it. It's easier to maintain that way, and it's already set up for you. But when you can't find the right way to do it, or the right object to do it, and there is not an object to do it, you can still write your own code, and it has all sorts of inputs and outputs to the script task. Okay, also you see there's a send mail task. Now I use that in the package, and you'll see that coming up. We connect to a SMTP server, and I can send emails directly from the package. And I can, of course, everything's configurable, so I construct error messages and messages in the email messages, subject lines, right inside of the inside this task. We'll get into that more. This object, rather. I'm just going through a few of these. FTP task, that's pretty normal. You can connect to an FTP server. Hadoop has its own set of objects here. Here's your execute package task. That's where and you'll see that in another package I have. But that package lets you have a parent package. So you have a package, you set up, maybe you want to run 10 different packages in a row. Well, if you want to do that, you can use this execute package task, and that will allow you to set up an object for each package. So just to show you that real quick. So I come over here, I have a main task here. So if I want to, each one of these is set to run one of these packages. So that's an execute package task. So all I have to do for this first one, when I double click it, you go in and you see your left side, and you can go ahead and choose these areas to configure. But you see package, and it asks me, how do I want to configure this? And I can go all the way from an external reference would be like on your disk drive and a file, or you can go right from the project that you're in, and then you can choose from amongst any of these packages. And then when it runs, it will run that package, and you just set your connection, so it gives you an extra layer. So think about a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of you can have many layers in this SSIS, and that's one concept of a layer. Okay, it's like what they would call a parent package. This would be a parent package, and it calls the guys within it are child packages. But that's utilized through this execute package task. Each one of these uses that task. Okay, so close that up. When you build the cube and you build the dimensions in the cube, there's objects for that, so you can go ahead and put those in a package so that you can schedule those too and run the package. Okay, so that's just some of the common, as you see, common tasks. And then your containers, you have your for loop. I mean, you have your sequence container that we talked about in the last training session, which really doesn't do anything but give you a little container. Lets you put stuff in it, like all these guys. You have a for loop and a for each loop. That allows you to loop. That container allows a looping methodology, a looping mechanism. So you can loop through it, and you can configure it to loop through 10 times or as many times as a table that you tell it to loop through this table. That would usually be a for each loop. There's many ways of doing your loops. Other tools, these are not as used as much, but there's lots of other tools here that you can go through. We're not going to go through those in this course. Okay, so anyways, so as I talked about before, we have layers, and there's a whole event handler layer here, and there's a data flow layer. Parameters, when you click parameters, that just gives you the parameters. Actually, those are parameters specific to the package. These parameters over here are specific to the project. So I don't have any parameters set up for the package itself, but just for the whole packet, for the whole project. So anyways, if we go to data flow, now this is something you want to understand. On this particular package, this is your front level of the package right in front of us, this layer. Now, if you want to see behind the scenes one layer, well, most of these don't have anything behind them except for a configuration dialog box. But there is the one object that does have another layer behind it is this area here, which is that's a data flow. Okay, so you see the source and destination in the icon. So to get to this, to get to see what's behind the data flow, this is just a front picture of it. But to get behind it, you either double click on it here, or you can go up to data flow here. And as long as it's selected, if you go to data flow here, there's a whole nother level behind that does your data flows. Okay, so you might have 20 data flows on you could have 20 data flows or whatever number you have on there. Each one has its own set of flows that go behind it. Okay, so again, as you see that flow there, I'm holding the control key down and just moving my mouse key, and that lets me size the zoom at any point. You can also, of course, go over here, like I said before, and do fit to window. Or you can come up here and do, magnify it. So there's lots of different ways to do that. So there's the data flow again. So a lot of times you'll get lost. Oh, what am I doing? I can't see anything in my SSIS Toolbox, right? And because once you get in data flow, it's going to show you more things like row count. That's specific to the data flow. You won't see this when we go back to control flow. So you don't see row count anymore in that basket of tools. So some of these are specific, and I'm kind of surprised that some of these even show up in the data flow when we get over here. Derived column, that's a data flow. Additional split, oh yeah, all these are data flows. So all these are data flow. So there's two types of objects. You have your data flow typed objects, and then you have your regular control flow. And control flow is your main window. Data flow is the one right underneath it. That's based off whatever data flow object in the control flow you're looking at. So you can get the data flow from here by highlighting the data flow object, or you can double click right on the object here and it will get you to the same screen. Okay, so we'll be working quite a bit in here, and this is where some of the sophistication of the error handling is going to come in. This concludes this video. Thank you for watching.